In a small, peaceful village surrounded by tall trees and wide green fields, there lived a man named Amir. Amir was known to everyone as a kind and calm person. He was not rich, but he had a good heart and was always ready to help others. He worked as a woodcarver, creating beautiful wooden items that people in the village loved. On most days, Amir enjoyed the simple life, but sometimes, he liked to take long walks in the forest nearby. The forest was full of life, the sound of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the fresh, cool air made Amir feel peaceful and free. One sunny afternoon, Amir decided to walk deeper into the forest than usual. The sun shone brightly through the trees, making small patches of light on the soft ground. He enjoyed the quiet, feeling the soft breeze on his face. As he walked, he noticed the smell of wildflowers and heard the distant sound of a stream flowing gently. Suddenly, a sharp, frightened cry broke the calm of the forest. Amir stopped and looked around. The sound had come from behind a thick group of bushes not far from him. Without thinking twice, Amir quickly moved toward the noise, his heart beating faster. He pushed aside the branches and found a young woman sitting on the ground. Her face was pale, and her eyes were wide with fear. The woman was holding her ankle tightly, and Amir saw a small, swollen mark with two tiny holes. Next to her, coiled on a rock, was a snake. Its dark green scales shone in the sunlight, and it seemed ready to strike again. Amir knew at once that the woman had been bitten by a snake. Amir's mind raced. He remembered what his father had told him when he was a child: if someone is bitten by a snake, stay calm. Keep the person still. Don't try to suck the poison or cut the wound. He looked at the woman and spoke softly to calm her down. Don't be afraid. I'm here to help you. Carefully, Amir picked up a thick branch and moved it slowly toward the snake. The snake hissed and slithered away into the bushes, disappearing quickly. Amir sighed with relief and then turned his full attention to the woman. Can you tell me your name? Amir asked gently. The woman looked at him with tired eyes and whispered, Lila. All right, Lila. Try not to move your leg. I will help you get to the village. There, the healer will take care of your bite, Amir said kindly. Lila nodded weakly. She tried to smile, but the pain was clear on her face. Amir carefully lifted her in his arms. He was strong but gentle. As he walked back through the forest, he spoke to her quietly to keep her calm. Why were you so deep in the forest alone? Amir asked, curious. Lila hesitated. Then she said softly, I was looking for something important, but I got lost. Amir did not press her for more details. He understood that sometimes people had secrets or worries they didn't want to share quickly. Instead, he focused on moving steadily through the trees, making sure Lila felt safe. The journey back was not easy. The forest floor was uneven and full of roots and stones. Amir moved slowly, careful not to shake Lila too much. Every now and then, he looked at her worriedly. She seemed tired but determined to stay awake. After what felt like a long time, they finally saw the edge of the forest. The village was waiting beyond, with smoke rising from chimneys and people going about their daily work. Amir smiled softly. We are almost there, Lila. As they stepped out of the trees, a few villagers noticed them. They quickly came forward, surprised to see Amir carrying a woman. One of the villagers, an older woman named Miriam who knew about healing plants, stepped forward immediately. Let me see, Miriam said gently, taking Lila's foot and examining the bite. This is a poisonous snake. We must act fast. Miriam called for water and special herbs, and the villagers helped make a small stretcher so Lila could rest. Amir stayed by her side, holding her hand to offer comfort. He watched as Miriam worked carefully to clean the wound and apply the medicine. Lila's breathing grew steadier, and color slowly returned to her face. She looked at Amir with deep gratitude. "Thank you for saving me," she whispered. Amir smiled warmly. "You would do the same for anyone." That night, Amir stayed with Lila at the healer's home. He learned that she had no family nearby, and no one knew where she had come from. She spoke little about herself, but Amir could see a sadness in her eyes, a story waiting to be told. Before sleep took them both, Lila said quietly, "I think I found something important in the forest. Something that could change everything." Amir looked at her, surprised. "What is it?" Lila shook her head gently, her eyes closing. "I will tell you when the time is right." Amir understood that this was just the beginning of a story much bigger than a snake bite in the wilderness. And somehow, he knew that their lives were now connected in ways neither of them could yet imagine. The next morning, the soft rays of sunlight slipped through the small window of the healer's house. Amir woke to the gentle sounds of birds singing outside. He looked over at Lila, who was still resting on the cot. Her face was calm, and the color had returned to her cheeks. The bite was healing, but Amir knew she was still weak. He quietly got up and stepped outside to breathe the fresh morning air. The village was waking up slowly. Children laughed as they ran along the dirt paths, and farmers walked toward their fields with tools in hand. The peaceful village felt like a different world from the forest where Amir had found Lila the day before. Amir thought about Lila's words, the something important she said she had found in the forest. What could it be? He wondered if it was just a lost treasure or something more. Back inside, Lila opened her eyes and saw Amir standing nearby. She smiled softly. "Good morning," she said in a quiet voice. "Good morning," Amir replied. "How do you feel today?" "A little better," Lila said. "Thank you for helping me. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there." Amir shook his head. "I'm just glad I was nearby. You're safe now." Lila looked out the window toward the forest and hesitated. "Amir, I think I should tell you why I was there." Amir sat down beside her. "I'm listening." Lila took a deep breath. "I come from a place far from here. It is not a village but a large old fort that belongs to my family. I am the only child of the family that owns the fort. My parents, they are gone now, and I was sent away to live quietly with relatives. But recently, I heard something about the fort, something that made me want to go back and see for myself." Amir's eyes widened. "A fort? That sounds important. What did you hear?" Lila looked down. "There are people who want to take the fort away from me. They say it belongs to someone else now. But I believe it is my home. I needed to go back to prove it." Amir was silent for a moment, trying to understand. "That must be very hard for you." "It is," Lila said softly. "That's why I went into the forest. I was looking for an old family document, a paper that can prove my right to the fort. My grandmother told me it was hidden somewhere in the woods near the fort." Amir nodded slowly. "That explains why you were there alone. The forest can be dangerous." Lila gave a weak smile. "Yes, I didn't expect to meet a snake." Amir smiled back. "I'm glad I was here to help." The day passed quietly as Lila rested and told Amir more about her family and the fort. She spoke of the large stone walls, the tall towers, and the gardens where she used to play as a child. Amir listened closely, feeling a deep respect for the woman who had faced so much alone. Later, Amir decided to visit the village elder to learn more about the fort. The elder, an old man named Rashid, was known for his knowledge of history and stories from the past. Amir found Rashid sitting under a large tree near the village square. "Rashid," Amir said, "do you know anything about a fort near the forest? A family that once lived there." Rashid looked thoughtful. "Yes, there is an old fort not far from here. It belonged to a noble family many years ago. But after some time, the family disappeared, and the fort was left empty. There have been many stories about it since then." Amir asked, "Do you know if anyone is trying to claim it now?" Rashid nodded slowly. "Some merchants from the city have been interested in the land. They want to buy it and build new houses or businesses. But the local people believe the fort belongs to the family that lived there long ago." Amir thanked Rashid and walked back to the healer's house with new hope. Lila was awake and waiting for him. "I spoke to Rashid," Amir said. "He knows about the fort and the family. The village people still believe it belongs to your family." Lila's eyes shone with hope. "That means I'm not alone." "No," Amir said firmly. "I will help you find the document your grandmother spoke about. Together, we can prove that the fort belongs to you." Lila smiled warmly. For the first time in many days, she felt a sense of trust and friendship. The next morning, Amir and Lila prepared to return to the forest together. Amir brought some water and simple tools, while Lila carried a small bag with food and a notebook. They knew the forest was dangerous, but they felt stronger facing it together. As they entered the trees, Lila's memories began to return. "The place is deeper in the forest, near a stream where the water is clear," she said. "My grandmother said the document was hidden inside an old tree, under a stone." Amir listened carefully and followed Lila's lead. The sunlight filtered softly through the leaves, and birds sang around them. The forest no longer felt frightening. Instead, it was full of hope and new beginnings. As they walked, Amir noticed how brave Lila was, despite everything she had been through. He admired her quiet strength and the way she kept moving forward, even when life was hard. After some time, they reached a small stream with clear water flowing gently over smooth stones. Lila stopped and looked around carefully. "This is the place," she said. Amir helped her search around the old trees. Soon, Lila's hand found a flat stone near the base of a large oak tree. They lifted it together, and beneath it was a small wooden box, worn with age. Lila's hands trembled as she opened the box. Inside was a folded paper, yellow with time. Carefully, she unfolded it and smiled. "This is it," she whispered. "The document that proves my family owns the fort." Amir smiled, feeling the joy in that moment. "We found it?" But deep inside the forest, unseen by them, shadows watched from behind the trees. Their journey was only beginning. Lila held the old, yellowed paper carefully, feeling a mix of hope and nervousness inside her. The faded words on the paper told a story of her family's long history and their ownership of the fort. It was the proof she needed to claim her home again. Amir watched her quietly, understanding how important this moment was. "We should hurry back to the village," Amir said gently. "The forest can be dangerous, especially with the night coming." Lila nodded. They began walking carefully through the trees, carrying the small wooden box with the document safely inside. The path back seemed easier now, but both were quiet, thinking about what lay ahead. The sun was beginning to set when they finally reached the edge of the forest. The golden light made the village look warm and welcoming. As they walked into the village, several people stopped and looked at Lila with curiosity. Word had already spread about the woman who had been saved from a snake bite and had returned with proof of her family's claim to the fort. Miriam, the healer, greeted them warmly. "You look stronger today," she said with a smile. "The document is safe." "Yes," Lila replied, showing the paper carefully. "This paper belongs to my family. It proves I have a right to the fort." Miriam's eyes shone with respect. "You have been very brave." Amir looked around and saw the villagers gathering quietly. Some nodded, others whispered. They all knew that this paper could change the future of the fort and the village. That evening, Lila and Amir sat with Rashid, the village elder, to discuss what to do next. "This document is important," Rashid said slowly, looking at the paper. "If it is real, it proves that the fort belongs to your family. But there will be challenges. The people who want to take the fort may not give up easily." Lila felt a chill. "I am ready to face whatever comes." Amir placed a hand on her shoulder. "You won't face it alone." For the next few days, Lila stayed in the village to recover her strength. Amir helped her understand the villagers and the history of the fort. He also met with some of the villagers who were ready to support Lila's claim. Slowly, a plan began to form. One morning, Amir and Lila walked toward the fort together. The path was rough, and the fort stood tall on a hill, its stone walls worn by time but still strong. The fort looked both beautiful and lonely, like a silent guardian watching over the land. As they approached, Lila's heart beat faster. She remembered playing here as a child, running through the halls and climbing the towers. Now, it felt like her past and future were waiting for her inside those walls. They entered through the large wooden gate, which creaked as they pushed it open. The courtyard was empty, with grass growing between the stones. Lila walked slowly, touching the old walls as if saying hello to an old friend. Suddenly, Amir stopped and pointed. "Look over there." Near the corner of the fort, a small group of people was waiting. They were well dressed and carried papers and bags. Lila's stomach tightened. These were the people who wanted the fort for themselves. One of them, a tall man with a sharp face, stepped forward. "You must be Lila," he said. "We've heard about your claim, but this fort is no longer yours. It belongs to those who buy it from the city." Lila stood tall. "This document proves it belongs to my family. I have every right to the fort." The man laughed softly. "Old papers mean nothing if you cannot keep the fort safe or use it." Amir stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Lila is not alone. The village supports her. This fort belongs to the people here, not to those who come from far away with money." The man's smile faded. He looked around at the villagers who had come with Amir and Lila. They stood quietly but firmly. "We will see about that," the man said, turning away. "This is not over." Lila watched him leave, feeling both worried and determined. She turned to Amir. "We need to protect the fort and the village." Amir nodded. "And we will. Together." That night, Lila sat on a stone bench outside the fort, looking at the stars. Amir joined her. "You are stronger than you think," he said softly. Lila smiled. "I learned that from you. You saved me when I was weak." Amir shook his head. "We saved each other." In the days that followed, Lila and Amir worked with the villagers to repair the fort's old walls and clean the gardens. The villagers, inspired by Lila's courage, joined in happily. It was more than just fixing a building, it was bringing hope back to their home. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Lila and Amir stood together at the highest tower of the fort. The wind blew gently, carrying the sound of the village below. Lila took Amir's hand. "Thank you for believing in me." Amir smiled. "Thank you for trusting me." They looked out over the land, the forest, the village, and the fort. A new chapter was beginning, full of promise and challenges, but they knew they would face it side by side. The days at the fort grew busier as Lila, Amir, and the villagers worked hard to repair the old building. The fort had seen better days, but with each stone they fixed, it felt like the spirit of the place was returning. Flowers bloomed again in the garden, and laughter filled the air as people worked side by side. Lila was surprised by how much she enjoyed the work. It was tiring, but it made her feel connected to her family and the land. Amir was always nearby, offering help and encouragement. They grew closer, sharing stories about their lives and dreams. One afternoon, a messenger arrived from the city. He carried a letter sealed with a red stamp. Amir took the letter and read it carefully. His face grew serious. "What is it?" Lila asked, worry in her voice. Amir looked up. "It's from the city officials. They say the city council has agreed to give the fort and the surrounding land to a company that plans to build new houses and businesses. They have a contract signed by many important people." Lila felt her heart sink. "But the document I found proves the fort belongs to my family." Amir nodded. "I know. But the city officials say that old papers are not enough. They want legal proof recognized by the courts." Lila stood up, determination shining in her eyes. "Then we must go to the city and fight for what is rightfully ours." The villagers gathered around to hear the news. Many were worried, but others showed support. Rashid, the elder, spoke kindly but firmly. "This will be a difficult fight," he said. "The city has money and power. But we have truth and justice on our side. Lila, you must be strong." Amir placed a hand on Lila's shoulder. "We will face this together." The next morning, Lila and Amir prepared for their journey to the city. It was a long trip over hills and rivers, but they were ready. Before leaving, Lila walked through the fort one last time, touching the walls and whispering a promise to protect it. As they traveled, Amir and Lila talked about the challenges ahead. "The city can be overwhelming," Amir said. "People there may not understand what the fort means to us." Lila nodded. "But I will tell them our story. I will show them the history and the love this place holds." When they reached the city, the tall buildings and busy streets made Lila feel small. It was a noisy, fast place, very different from her quiet village. But she did not lose hope. They went to the city council office, a large building with many rooms and people in suits. Lila held the old document carefully as they waited to speak with the officials. Finally, a man with gray hair and glasses called them in. "I am Mr. Karim," he said. "We have read your papers. But there are many legal questions to answer. This will take time." Lila spoke softly but clearly. "Please, this fort is my family's home. The people of my village depend on it. We ask for a chance to prove our claim." Mr. Karim nodded. "We will review everything carefully. But you must understand, there are others who want the land." Days passed as Lila and Amir stayed in the city, meeting with lawyers and gathering more evidence. They searched for old records and talked to historians who knew about the fort's history. Slowly, they built their case. One afternoon, as they prepared for a hearing, Lila sat quietly, feeling the weight of the challenge ahead. Amir sat beside her and took her hand. "You are not alone," he said. "No matter what happens, I believe in you." Lila smiled, feeling stronger with Amir by her side. "Thank you. Together, we can face anything." The day of the hearing arrived. The room was filled with people, lawyers, city officials, and others interested in the fort's future. Lila stood before the council and told her story. She spoke about her family, the village, and the importance of the fort. She showed the old document and the new evidence they had found. Amir watched her with pride. She was brave and clear, speaking from her heart. After the hearing, the council took time to discuss. The wait was hard for Lila and Amir. They walked through the city, sometimes feeling hope, sometimes fear. Finally, a letter arrived. The council had decided to review the claim carefully and put a hold on the sale of the fort. They would investigate more before making a final decision. Lila and Amir returned to the village with the news. The villagers welcomed them with smiles and cheers. It was not a victory yet, but a step closer to saving their home. That night, as they sat under the stars near the fort, Lila felt a new strength inside her. "We will win," she said softly. "For the village, for the fort, for the future." Amir smiled and squeezed her hand. "I know we will." The road ahead was still long and uncertain, but Lila and Amir were ready. Together, they would protect the place they both loved. The village buzzed with excitement after Lila and Amir returned with hopeful news from the city council. Though the final decision was still pending, the villagers felt renewed energy and purpose. The fort was not just a building to them, it was a symbol of their history, their home, and their future. Lila and Amir spent the next days visiting every house in the village, speaking with families and neighbors. They explained the situation clearly and asked for support. The villagers listened carefully, their faces showing both concern and determination. One afternoon, Lila stood in the village square, where a crowd had gathered around her. She spoke with honesty and hope. "We are not just fighting for my family. We are fighting for all of us. This fort belongs to our village, to the people who live here and who care for this land. Together, we can protect it." The villagers clapped and cheered. Many promised to help in any way they could. Some would help repair the fort, others would write letters of support, and a few offered to speak to officials in the nearby towns. Amir smiled, proud of the unity growing among the people. "This is what makes us strong," he said to Lila. "We have each other." The next morning, Amir and Lila joined a group of villagers as they began cleaning the forest paths leading to the fort. They cleared away fallen branches and overgrown bushes to make it easier for people to visit and appreciate the land. Children laughed as they played nearby, their joy a reminder of what was at stake. During the work, an elderly man named Hamid approached Amir. Hamid was a quiet man who knew much about the forest and the village's past. "I heard what you're doing," Hamid said softly. "There is an old tradition here: when the village stands together, no one can break it." Amir nodded respectfully. "We will need all the strength we can get." Days passed, and the bond between Lila and the villagers grew stronger. She helped teach children about the history of the fort and the forest. In return, they shared stories and songs from the village's past. One evening, Rashid, the village elder, invited Lila and Amir to his home. The walls were decorated with old paintings and maps of the region. "I want to show you something," Rashid said, pulling out a large, dusty book. "This is the village's history book, written by our ancestors. It tells about the fort and your family's role here. Lila opened the book carefully. The pages were filled with stories, drawings, and old photographs. She saw pictures of the fort in its early days, bustling with life and joy. "This will help us," Lila said, her eyes shining. "It shows the strong connection between the fort and the village." Rashid smiled. "Yes. And the people will stand with you when they know the truth." With the book's help, Lila and Amir prepared letters and presentations to bring to the city council. They wanted to show that the fort was not just an old building but a living part of the community. One morning, a group of villagers traveled with Lila and Amir back to the city. They brought stories, photos, and heartfelt messages of support. When they reached the city council office, the officials were surprised to see so many people united for one cause. Lila spoke clearly and confidently. "This fort belongs to the people who care for it. It is our history, our home, and our future." Amir added, "We are ready to protect it together." The city officials listened carefully, their faces showing respect for the village's unity and passion. As the meeting ended, Mr. Karim, the council leader, spoke quietly with Amir and Lila. "The council will consider everything carefully. It is clear that the fort means much more than just land or money." Lila felt hope growing inside her. "Thank you." Back in the village, the days felt lighter. The work continued at the fort, and the villagers celebrated small victories: a repaired wall, new flowers blooming, and children playing safely. One afternoon, as the sun set behind the mountains, Lila and Amir stood together near the fort's garden. The air smelled sweet with flowers and earth. "Do you think we will win?" Lila asked softly. Amir looked at her and smiled. "I believe we already have. Not because of the papers or the court, but because of the people who stand with us." Lila nodded. "You were right. Together, we are stronger." The village was no longer just a place on a map, it was a family. And Lila, Amir, and the villagers knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it side by side. The days grew warmer as summer approached, and the village around the fort flourished with new energy. Lila, Amir, and the villagers continued their efforts to restore the fort and prepare for the final decision from the city council. The hope in everyone's hearts was stronger than ever. One morning, while Lila was walking near the forest's edge, she noticed a stranger standing by the old well. He was a tall man, dressed simply but with a calm and friendly face. He watched the village quietly, as if trying to understand its spirit. Curious, Lila approached him. "Hello," she said softly. "Are you visiting our village?" The man smiled warmly. "Yes, I am here for a short time. My name is Samir." Lila nodded. "I'm Lila. This is my home. The fort you see up the hill belongs to my family." Samir looked up at the fort and nodded. "It is a beautiful place with a strong history. I have heard of the fight to protect it." Lila's eyes widened. "You know about us?" "I have followed your story," Samir replied. "I am a historian and work with people who want to preserve old places and their stories. I believe places like your fort are important, not just for the past, but for the future." Lila felt a spark of hope. "Can you help us?" Samir smiled. "I believe I can. There is more to the history of the fort and your family than many people know. I want to find the truth and help you protect your home." Excited, Lila invited Samir to meet Amir and Rashid. Over the next days, Samir studied the old documents, the village history book, and the fort itself. He asked many questions and listened carefully to the stories of the villagers. One afternoon, Samir gathered Lila, Amir, and Rashid in the village hall. "I have found something important," he said, opening a worn book he had brought with him. "This book contains letters and records from your ancestors. It shows the fort was not only a home but a place where many important events happened. It was once a safe place for travelers and a center for learning." Lila's eyes filled with tears. "This is exactly what we need. Proof that the fort means more than just land." Samir nodded. "Yes. If we can show this to the city council, they will understand the value of your fort and the need to protect it." Amir smiled broadly. "Thank you, Samir. Your help means a lot." With Samir's support, Lila felt more confident than ever. Together, they prepared a new presentation for the city council, including the letters, records, and stories collected from the villagers. When the day of the next meeting arrived, Lila stood before the council with Samir and Amir by her side. She told the story of the fort, the village, and the long history that connected them all. Samir added his research and expert opinion, explaining why the fort was important not only to the village but also to the region's culture and history. The council members listened quietly, some nodding with interest. After the meeting, Mr. Karim approached Lila. "Your story and the new evidence have changed many minds here. We are now considering declaring the fort a protected site, which means it cannot be sold or changed without permission." Lila's heart swelled with joy. "That would be wonderful." Mr. Karim smiled. "It is not decided yet, but it is a big step forward." Back in the village, the news spread quickly. The villagers gathered to celebrate, lighting small fires and sharing food and stories. Lila and Amir stood together, watching the happy faces around them. That night, as the celebration quieted, Lila and Amir walked near the fort's walls. The moonlight made the stones shine softly. "Samir's help was unexpected," Lila said. "I didn't know we would find an ally like him." Amir smiled. "Sometimes, help comes when we need it most. And sometimes, it comes from the most surprising places." Lila looked at the fort, feeling a deep sense of peace. "I believe this place will be safe now." Amir took her hand gently. "We have fought hard, and we will keep fighting. But no matter what happens, we have each other." Lila smiled and rested her head on Amir's shoulder. Together, the village, the fort, and the people who loved them had grown stronger through their challenges. And with new friends like Samir, their future looked brighter than ever. The morning sun rose gently over the village, casting golden light on the fort's old stone walls. Birds sang softly, and the air smelled fresh and sweet. Lila stood by the window of her small room in the village, looking out at the place she had fought so hard to save. A quiet smile touched her lips. The city council's decision had come just days before. The fort was officially declared a protected site. This meant no company could buy it or change it without permission. The village and its people would keep the fort as their home and history. The news had brought relief and joy to everyone. Amir entered the room carrying 2 cups of tea. "Good morning," he said softly, handing her a cup. Lila took it gratefully. "Good morning. I can't believe it's finally over." Amir sat beside her. "Not completely over. But it's a new beginning." Lila nodded. "Yes. We have a lot of work to do to restore the fort and make it a place everyone can enjoy." Together, they walked outside, where villagers were already gathering to start a new project. Children played near the garden, and elders shared stories near the old fountain. The fort was alive again. As they joined the group, Rashid approached with a warm smile. "Today, we begin the next chapter," he said. Not just to protect the fort, but to bring new life to our village. Lila felt a deep happiness. I want to open the fort to visitors, to show them its history and the strength of our community. Amir agreed. And we can create a center for learning, like the fort once was. The villagers nodded in agreement. Everyone wanted to be part of this new journey. Over the next weeks, the village worked harder than ever. They repaired walls, planted flowers, and cleaned the paths. Lila and Amir organized groups to teach children about history and nature. Samir continued to help by researching and sharing stories about the fort's past. One afternoon, as they worked together in the garden, Lila paused to look at Amir. "Thank you for standing by me through everything." Amir smiled warmly. "Thank you for trusting me. I never thought a chance meeting in the forest would lead to this." Lila laughed softly. "Neither did I." Their friendship had grown deeper, built on trust, respect, and shared dreams. It was a bond that neither of them had expected but both cherished. As summer turned to fall, visitors began to arrive. People from nearby towns came to see the fort, to hear the stories, and to enjoy the peaceful village. Lila welcomed them with pride, sharing the history and the hard work that saved the fort. One day, a young girl approached her. "Are you Lila? My grandmother told me about you. You saved the fort." Lila smiled and knelt down. "Yes, I did my best. But the fort was saved by everyone, the village, my friends, and the people who cared." The girl's eyes shone. "I want to help protect our history too." Lila took her hand gently. "You already are." That evening, as the sun set, Lila and Amir stood on the highest tower of the fort. The village lights twinkled below like stars on earth. "We did it," Lila whispered. Amir nodded. "And this is just the beginning. The fort will live on because of the people who love it." Lila looked at the sky, feeling peace and hope. "No matter what happens, I know we can face it together." Amir smiled. "Always." The fort, once quiet and forgotten, was now full of life and promise. It was a place where history and future met, a home for everyone who cared to protect it. Lila took a deep breath, feeling the wind on her face. She thought of the journey that had started with a dangerous snake bite in the wilderness and led her back to this place she loved. Her heart was full. The future was bright. And the story of the fort and its people would continue, written by all who called it home.